Today, we're going to break down a very specific and, let's be real, pretty controversial framework for how to evaluate relationships. This comes from a popular online source that lays out this really clear, no-nonsense system of red flags and green flags. So let's just dive right in and see what this is all about. So, the source kicks things off with a super direct question. It basically asks, what's the simplest, most obvious red flag you can spot in a potential partner? I mean, it's a bold way to start, and it gets right to the heart of this entire dating philosophy. And there's your answer, just like that. The source says, bluntly, women covered in tattoos. Now, as we're about to see, this isn't just some casual preference. It's actually the gateway into a much bigger worldview about relationships, gender roles, and what makes someone a suitable partner. This brings us to the first big concept in this whole system, what we're calling the tattoo test. According to the source, this is way more than just about ink. It's framed as a kind of shortcut, a visual cue that supposedly tells you everything you need to know about a bunch of other personality traits. And here are these specific traits the source links directly to tattoos. It claims that lots of tattoos are tied to daddy issues, promiscuity, being disagreeable, and having that boss girl attitude. And it's important to remember these are the exact associations that this particular framework makes. So, all of that leads to a pretty swift conclusion. Based on this one visual flag, the judgment is in, a woman with a lot of tattoos might be fine for casual dating, but she's immediately disqualified as a potential long-term partner. Okay, so after laying out a huge red flag, the framework, of course, flips to the other side of the coin. It's time to identify the green flags. So, what are the positive signs that show someone is a good long-term partner, at least within this worldview? So, here's the first big green flag test, and it's presented as a scenario. What happens when her partner gets sick? The source sees this as a make-or-break moment that reveals her true character, and more specifically, her ability to be nurturing. And this slide really lays out the two different roads this could go down. The green flag response? She becomes nurturing. She's actively looking for ways to help. But the red flag response is the opposite. She gets distant, cold, maybe even dismisses it as just a man cold. According to this viewpoint, her gut reaction here says everything about her feelings and her suitability as a partner. Now, the second big green flag is all about integrating into the family and social network. The idea here is that a good partner will proactively try to add value to your life. We're not just talking about being polite at dinner. We're talking about genuinely connecting with your parents, helping out during family events, and this is the key part, doing it all without having to be asked. All right, now we get to another test that seems to be absolutely critical in this framework, and that is the role of cooking. And the source could not be more direct about this. The quote is, "In my world, if she doesn't cook, she's not very useful to me over the long term." Wow. So, yeah, a very direct line is drawn between cooking skills and a woman's long-term value in a relationship. And this is really the key to understanding the whole thing. It's not actually just about a good meal. The source explains that a woman who cooks is showing that she's willing to embrace traditional feminine type of roles, and that is what's presented as the sign of a good woman. So, of course, this brings up the obvious question, right? What if you're wealthy enough to just hire a private chef? Does that make this whole skill irrelevant? The rebuttal from the source is incredibly fast and honestly pretty telling. The response is simply, then why do I need her? This really hammers home the idea that in this framework, the value isn't in the food itself, it's in the partner personally fulfilling that very specific traditional role. Okay, so if those are the expectations for a woman in this dynamic, what about the other side of the deal? Let's take a look at what the expected role for a man is according to this system. And here you can see the two sides laid out very clearly. You've got the woman's role defined by nurturing, family integration, and providing meals. And on the other side, the man's role is to make the money, solve problems, and basically put out fires and deal with issues. It's a vision of a partnership that's built on these very separate and traditional responsibilities. This quote really just sums up the whole philosophy, doesn't it? The source says it's an attractive trait when a woman aims to please a man. So within this system, all those traditional skills we talked about are basically seen as the tools that a smart woman uses to attract and keep what's defined as a good man. So finally, after setting up all the roles in the relationship, the source introduces this core mindset for the man himself. something he is expected to live by to handle his side of things. And this concept is called antifragility. So what in the world is antifragility? Well, think of it as the next level up from being resilient. It's not just about surviving chaos or toughing it out. It's about actually getting stronger because of the chaos. The source uses a really simple analogy to make this clear. A fragile thing, like a glass, shatters when chaos hits. A robust thing, like maybe a leather wallet, is basically unchanged by it. But an anti-fragile person, they actually improve from that chaos. They use the pressure to become better. So the advice for men is pretty clear. You have to actively lean into this state of being. The idea is, when things get tough, don't just put up with it. You should be actively looking for the silver lining, for the opportunity hidden inside the chaos that will help you grow. And this quote is really the core belief that drives that advice. Chaos comes our way, we're men, life will test us. In this worldview, facing these tests isn't just something that happens. It's a defining, inevitable part of being a man. So becoming anti-fragile isn't just a good idea. It's absolutely essential for him to fulfill his role. So let's just boil this all down. What's the bottom line of this framework? Basically, partners are judged based on how well they stick to very traditional gender roles. Women are valued for their nurturing and domestic abilities, while men are expected to be the providers and problem solvers who get stronger every time life throws them a curveball. And all of this leaves us with one final big question to think about. Whether you totally agree with this system or completely reject it, it's worth asking, how do these kinds of super-defined, prescriptive frameworks for spotting red flags and green flags end up influencing the way we all approach dating today?